You know, friends, I'm going to change my sermon topic for tonight. I just have to share something different. Is that okay, Nathan?
Yeah.
You like when I just get rid of what I'm doing?
Like a great jazz improviser.
Yeah, I'm Charlie Parker of rabbis. Okay, so here, do I know my cultural references or not? I mean, that was very well done. You know, I was going to give a message about Sukkot, and I'll just give it to you very briefly and go on to something else that I want to share with you very briefly. You know, there is a tradition. Sukkot is coming beginning on Monday night. And of course, there is a tradition of building the Sukkah. And according to tradition, it has 4 walls and a ceiling that is a roof that is supposed to be permeable. It's only to be made out of things that are cut from the ground. So you put the schach on top and it should be more shade than light, but literally if it rains, it's supposed to come down. I mean, it's supposed to be permeable. It's a beautiful experience of going into nature. And so here's the question that's found in the Talmud. The question becomes, what if you don't have a perfect sukkah? I mean, what if you don't have enough walls? The question is, can you still fulfill the mitzvah? And the mitzvah is not building the sukkah. The mitzvah is dwelling in the sukkah. The blessing is leishev basukkah. God is calling upon us to dwell in the sukkah. Many people sleep in the sukkah. They make it really into the permanent home. They bring beautiful furniture into it. It's remarkable what people will do in their sukkah. But how good does a sukkah have to be? And according to tradition, a sukkah that has 3 walls is good enough. And then the rabbis go on to say that if a sukkah has only 2.5 walls, it's still good enough to fulfill the mitzvah. So what does that mean? A lot of explanations can be given, but when I look at the tradition, and I think about the tradition, I think about the curse of perfectionism. You know, we live in a world where we want to be perfect. We want to be the best. You know, I want to be the best rabbi. I want to give the best sermons. You know, it's best. The fact of the matter is reality is different. We do the best that we can, and we can only take it so far. And I think Jewish tradition is calling upon us to recognize that when it comes to our own religious life. You know, there are many parts of Judaism that we're called upon to do. For example, we're called upon to observe the Sabbath. It is a 25-hour experience every week. Not all of us can observe the Sabbath in the way that the rabbis defined it 2,000 years ago. But I think the tradition is saying is, if the only thing you can do is to light Shabbos candles on Friday night, that's a wonderful step. One should be satisfied with that. Or if the only thing you can do is share in Shabbat services with us on streaming on Friday night, that is good enough. In other words, the incomplete way of doing things doesn't mean they're not valuable. There's so many examples in Judaism. I mean, the dietary laws are something that are personally important to me. Many Reform Jews think differently. That's the beauty of Reform Judaism. But if someone says to me, you know, Rabbi, I want to experience some of the dietary laws, I'm going to give up pork. That's what I can do. And my answer to them is, isn't that a wonderful step for you to do? Because I think the tradition is saying us, you start at a certain point and you move in a positive direction. And as you go in life, you get to a level that you can do. And we have to affirm that as something really beautiful. There was a great important Jewish thinker named Franz Rosensfeig, who lived in Germany before the Second World War. And Rosensfeig was this man who was brilliant. He was an expert in the philosophy of Hegel, and he wrote this book called The Star of Redemption when he was a soldier in the trenches in the First World War. And Rosensfeig wanted to get to a point where he left Judaism. But he felt that he first had to examine Judaism in order to reject it. So there's a story of him going to synagogue, a very traditional synagogue, on Kol Nidre night. And he was so moved by the religious experience of Kol Nidre, he left that synagogue that night, renouncing his intention to leave Judaism, and he went on a path of tremendous Jewish growth in innovation and erudition, and he really became one of the key 20th century Jewish philosophers. Now, why mention him? He was once asked the question, Franz, do you wear tefillin? Do you wear the phylacteries, what's put on your head and put on your arms for morning worship? And the thing he said was, not yet. Not yet. His point was that his Jewish life was evolutionary, and he was at a certain point, and he wasn't ready to go to the next point. But truth be told, his serious embracing of the traditions that he could embrace indicated that he was an authentic Jew. So this sukkah that only has 2.5 walls has a profound meaning for us Jews. It means that we are all on a religious journey. Some people call it the ladder of observance. You go to one point and see where you are. Maybe you can go to another point, or maybe you're going to stay at one point all your life. But the fact is that our seriousness, our intention, our dedication to wherever we are is something that should be valued. You don't have to do all the things in order to be something of value. So a sukkah, that's 2.5 walls, that's all it is. It's not the ideal. It's not what we should aspire to build. But if that's all you have, that is something that is worthy of embracing. And friends, this is part of life itself. We all go through life having certain goals of what we want to achieve. And sometimes we achieve them, and sometimes we don't. But when we achieve a certain level, we need to value that. The glass is half full, not half empty. And we need to have enough self-esteem and self-love to recognize, this is where I am. I'm going to try to do better, but where I am is to be valued and affirmed. And Nathan, I'm thinking about you and Becky. You're incredible songwriters. But I'm sure there are some times you think you've really reached a certain level, and maybe another song is not at that level. Oh, yeah. But that doesn't mean that your act of creativity has no value. It means that there are things that we achieve great things with, and there are things that we achieve good things with, and we have to embrace all of them as being part of our journey and our creativity. Does that make any sense?
Absolutely.
So I didn't get onto my other topic because I did this topic, but the Sukkah is such a beautiful example of Judaism's understanding that we are all on our individual journeys. We need to find where we are, we need to honor it, and we should seek to grow however we can as we move through life. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.